What's good, everybody? It's your boy Hamza, aka your favorite content creator, man. I'm back with another video, guys. This time I am bringing my brother's first place deck profile that he brought to the winner box, and it's a very unique deck in itself, and I think that this deck going forward is going to be the new meta, aka tier 1, guys. If you guys like the video, go ahead and let me know by leaving a like on the video. Subscribe if you guys have not already, because like I always say, we're doing a giveaway at 7,000 subscribers. That's not 7, that's 10. 7,000 subscribers, guys. Check out our Twitter, because we're doing a giveaway at 100 followers as well, and nobody's following that right now. So go ahead and get in on some free extra easy stuff, because everybody likes free stuff, guys. But without further ado, let's get right into this video.
Alright guys, so this is the Tribrigade list that I played for the Grand Creators Winner Box that we played in over this past weekend, just this past Thursday, and it was the old ban list because technically the list wasn't in effect yet, but me and my brother decided to play decks that we would play for next list and for the next format, and so a lot of the theory in here might be a little bit different from what you're used to seeing, but for the most part, like, it is what we think is going to apply to next format, and we were expecting a lot of Brave as well, so that was something, like, there's some text in the deck for that, so I'll get right into it. We are playing Tribrigade Birds, but we're playing a very light bird count, as we saw at the European Remote YCS. He was the first player who did well with it. He came second place. This is previous format, so it's a lot on that theory as well. And if you are following Tribrigade and you are following Birds from release to now, you know that the bird engine initially was being tested in a very light capacity, like we're talking about Warbler maxed out on 3 bird call and like that's it. But so this list kind of copies that. So right off the bat, like, we play the 3 Fractal, the 3 Kit, the 3 Nerval, and the double Keras. The biggest difference between pure Tri, or this version of Tri, versus like the more combo centric like bird version, is that we have 2 extra kits and 1 extra Keras, right? So what that gives us is not only more normal summons, but it gives us more consistency with like starting off with a card that was really powerful. And during the tournament, something that I really noticed a lot was that a lot of the decks that I was playing against, like 1 or 2 hand traps in the right spot, could stop them, because for the most part, they wouldn't necessarily always open up optimally. In a deck like this, like if you see Fractal or you see Kit or you see Nerval, essentially they're the same. It's all like the same, right? Because you can still set up enough interruptions, combine with your hand traps, maybe some of your back row, for your opponent to really struggle to be able to beat that kind of setup. And the consistency is one of the biggest benefits to Tribrigade for sure. I never once missed the 3rd Keras, even the 2nd one, honestly. But I think for sure you need to play 2 of this, just because there are game states, especially moving forward with like potentially more grindy games, but there are game states where the 2nd Keras will come up. Fractal is crazy. Obviously, you can dump not just him, or not just the Tri list, Tri name. You can also dump any of the birds, and that lets us, you know, still play with Warbler and be able to kind of play without using our normal summon. Kit itself, this is usually what you're going to be searching, right? So if you've gone like, if you open Fractal as your only name, it's like Fractal dump Kit, or sorry, Fractal dump Nerval, add the Kit, and then you can normal the Kit effect, banish 2, then you can link away the Kit, and you set up 4 engrave for your Revolt play. So Kit's usually what you want to be following up with, and usually the monster you want to be normaling, just because when it gets sent to the graveyard, not only is it going to search another card by foolishing the Nerval, it's also going to load your graveyard up for 2 names you're always going to be able to play. A lot of times I see Tri players there, when they do get the follow-up search, it's on another Fractal, and it's like, you shouldn't be doing that just blind. So triple Kit, triple Nerval, still just insane synergy with the birds, right? Just because the Sparrow can search this, it's still just a level 1. You can overlay with the other 2 birds to get 4 materials on your Zeus. Nerval's crazy. Nerval's great, but realistically, you're only going to need the 1 for turn 1. After that, like, it's fine. But you do want to open it, right? And then double Keras is because our deck doesn't have too many extenders. This is really the only Tri extender, and you know, Tribrigade is just normal summon and then maybe a Keras. But with the birds, it lets us play without using our normal quite a bit. And if you open the birds, you can go into Keras with 4 engrave without using your normal, and even potentially without discarding a card. So that's really useful for later on. And that's it for that. So just 11 of the Tri names, right? 3 of all the good ones, 2 Keras. And then for the birds, we play just the triple Warbler and the 1 Sparrow, just to go with the Warbler. Warbler and Fractal are great. Warbler, Tanky are great, just because they let you play without using your normal summon, which is one of the biggest like downsides of Tribrigade before, is how much you had to commit just to be able to play the game, and namely that was your normal. All of your lines basically started with your normal, unless you were going like Fractal pitch Nerval, Nerval add Kit, and then you already had Keras, Keras pitch Kit, but then you have to banish 4 for the sure egg, right? But with these guys, what it lets you do is that when you can, under Lancia, it's very powerful as well, where you can special the Warbler special this out, and then you can search a Nerval, go into your Link 2, and then special out the Nerval, and you can still get like a Revolt set up, right, just through the Lancia, which is still powerful. Also, you can still go to Vert's Anaconda, because that's another play that we play, another line of play that our deck has access to, And one of the strongest things about Tri, I think, at the current moment and moving forward in the next format is just how many differing lines you have that get you to a board that's enough disruptions where you will always see the next turn, and then you can just OTK very simply by normaling a Tribrigade, banishing 3 to go into access code, obviously. And so not just that, but I feel like without having to use our normal summon on our like first try, like just opening the Warbler, opening with a Sparrow or whatever, being able to special these guys out and then like, you know, specialing out the monster off the Farage. The Farage is basically free. The monster we're specialing is free. It's not a normal summon, and if it's either one of if it's either Nerval or Kit, we definitely have a normal summon to follow up after. If they imperm this or they Veiler this or whatever it is, like we still have a normal summon that we can follow up with and continue to play there. Still make the Appaloosa the exact same line. So it's made the deck a lot more resilient through like basic interruptions, and also I think in this format like Veiler is going to get a lot worse just because it doesn't really interact that favorably with a lot of what's going on. If you look at some of the best decks like Virtual World, for example, or Phantom Knight, like Effect Veiler doesn't really do too much there because the only time they're going to be using the Torn Scales effect is after it's come back out of the graveyard and they already have like their Brave set up, and at that point they might just let your Veiler resolve, not even negate it, and it's not really going to put them back anywhere. And it's like Veiler's not that great with like another hand trap even, unless it's like specifically Nibiru, in which case like great, but like everything works with Nib kind of thing. And I'll get to that like the hand trap section when we get there, but just for these guys, it just gives you so many different lines of play that now Warbler is an extender and so is Keras, so we're not that same like basic deck, and it's only just 4 cards, but it really does make a huge difference to the overall game plan and the overall strategy of the deck. So that's it. These are the Tri Beasts that we play. That's it, just the 15. And opening these cards with another name is all just really good. Let's just do our full border. Let's just do enough interruptions where our opponent's not going to be able to play. One of the biggest appeals to Tribrigade, of course, is the number of hand traps and like generic bomb cards that you can play. And I think in this format where a lot of people are predicting Scythe to be such a titan in the format, you can't. If you've let them resolve their full combo, you're not going to be able to win the game. And so you really need to stop them before they get to that point. So like cards like Dark Ruler are just like useless, right? So in this deck, we play a bunch of hand traps, namely 3 Ash Blossom, the 2 Nibiru, 2 Ghost Ogre, and the 1 DD Crow. That's it for the monster-based hand traps, where you also play the triple Infinite Impermanence. So all in total, this gives us 11 hand traps in the main. And I think that's a decent enough number. I wanted to see 2 of them and not just 1. And so for Ash and Imperm, these are the most generic, and they hit everything. And it's like, yeah, sure, if you're playing against like Phantom Knight, like every single round, or like some sort of Brave deck, like this can be changed and you can, you know, adjust the ratios or whatever. But when you're playing against like a wider scope of decks, like these cards are very strong. They're always good. Imperm is good when you draw it as a 6th card, and Imperm obviously combos really well with cards like Nibiru. These are generic hand traps that we can almost always use and don't need another hand trap to really kind of get the effect that we need from them. Which is why we chose to max out on them. Obviously, Imperm is not even once per turn, but which is why we chose to max out on these. These other ones are a little more selective. We play the 1 DD Crow just because it's searchable, and I think this deck has to play it. You're playing Sparrow, you're playing the Omen just to be able to search on your opponent's turn, and this just deals so well with so many of the cards that are in the meta, like whether it's their DP, whether it's their Torn Skull that's engraved, their turn 2 they go Fogblade to target the Rusty, you just get the Rusty out of the graveyard. The Scythe against some of the decks, like they don't really have protection for Scythe like that, and DD Crow is really good, also with these other hand traps. It's just a very good hand trap that's very easy for this deck to search, so it's basically free, which is why we only just play the 1. And then for the other 4 cards that I was playing, and this was kind of a meta call, it was the 2 Ghost Ogre and the 2 Nibiru. The thing with these guys are, they're not that great on their own, but paired with any other hand trap or any other form of disruption, these cards become insane. And so I wanted something that kind of ended the turn. The only reason I didn't max out on the Nibiru or max out on the Ghost Ogre was just because I feel like they're only good when you had another one. And I think like playing 4 total was really good when I play 4 of those, plus like they combo with any of these cards really well. And they also combo with each other really well. So for example, one of my games I was playing is Pendulum Magicians, and they had Pen Harmonizing to bring out the Oath. That would have been the 4th summon. So I ogred the Harmonizing Magician just because then I could nib before they made Baron, because they had to go 1 extra summon to kind of set up into Baron, and I could hold the nib for much longer. So these 2 work really well together. Ogre was my call because I think this is very good against the actual Rite of Armisia part of the engine, like the Fateful Adventure. It gets it off the board, you don't have to deal with it. And drawing this as a 6th card is still pretty solid because it deals with the Griffin Rider, if you have like some other kind of cards to combo there as well. So it deals with the Griffin Rider at almost all instances. The only deck I think this is like not good against is basically Sword Soul. But against Sword Soul, if you're going first, and they're probably going to look to like Baxia or Yazi you, and Ghost Ogre makes Yazi miss timing because it destroys it as Chain Link 2, and then Yazi misses timing. It was just without its destruction wasn't the last thing to happen in the chain. So that's like a cool little interaction that works with Ghost Ogre. This was something that I was testing, and honestly, moving forward, like I would just continue to play it even at this ratio. It was fine. I never felt like I was drawing like too many hand traps or too few hand traps. It was always like 2 in one hand or one in the hand, and I had like the Forbidden Droplet, which is we'll get to that when we get to the spells. But yeah, so the hand traps I think are the biggest benefit of playing Tribrigade this format, just because you can fit in so much of these generic disruptors that other decks don't have the space for, because they're filling it up with like Braves and all this other stuff. And we have go second, so our go first and our go second is equally powerful. So I think that's one of the huge benefits, and the deck is very, very consistent. So that's it for the monsters and the imperms. Outside of the 2 bricks that we have to play, Dasher and Celestial. If you play foil bricks, like, you're actually trolling, because you don't want to see these cards ever. There's nothing much to say about these. You play Destroy Phoenix Enforcer, it's actually insane. In this deck, like, specifically, the Celestial draw actually comes up less than the Dasher special summon, because usually you're just specialing off the Tribrigade off the Dasher, and that acts as, like, another extender, so your opponent has to deal with the special summon try, the normal summon try, and potentially the Care House as well. And it's just game at that point, right? Just because it's so easy in this deck to actually kill your opponent. But yeah, so, I mean, crazy cards. Now for the spells, these are more consistency cards that we have is the triple Bird Call. Bird Call is really good when paired with either Warbler or Fractal or Tanky, so that's 7 cards that we can use there. And in other instances, just like Bird Call, special out the Warbler, get the Warbler, special the Warbler, normal summon a Tribrigade, make the kit, and then, make the Farigate. Farigate will, the Tribrigade that we linked away will trigger, get us another search, and it lets us load our graveyard up very easily so we can play our full line. So even just getting this as a free special summon on our turn is it's insane. The thing is, post side, this is also, it contributes to siding patterns, because if you're going second, taking out some of these is also very easy. So turn 1, this is fantastic, and because it always just reads an extender, and sometimes you get the bonus of being able to use the the Warbler Sparrow combo. Card is still insane, like, even with birds not being that great, like, or being murdered by the list, like, the card is still nuts. Next, we play the Double Fusion Destiny. We play 3 if it was at 3, but again, this is just a really good card, and it gives us multiple different lines. Like, something I wanted to say about this deck is, a lot of players, when they play, like, Tribrigade with DPE, they'll do the play where, like, you make the Verte, you pop your own Bear Brim to search the Revolt. I don't think that line is, like, technically correct. I think this kind of works as, like, with the hand traps, you know, you can kind of play the Skystriker game of, like, activate Fusion Destiny, sit on a DPE plus hand traps until it gets back to your turn and kill your opponent that way. So it is kind of a pseudo consistency card in that sense, but it really is just a bomb. People have to respect this card, and the way I see it is, like, when you play this deck, how you actually want to set up your end board is, what's easier for you to do? Is it Appaloosa Revolt, right, going through Bear Brim, or is it, like, just Appaloosa and DPE, and, like, you just forego the Bear Brim entirely? And I think both of them are fine, and especially if you know what you're playing against. Let's say it's later, you're in the top cut of a tourney, you know the decks you're playing against. You know if Appaloosa with the Revolt is better than, you know, DPE with, like, Dragon Lords or something else. Like, and I think the flexibility is what's really strong with this deck, because this deck has gone from being, like, a very, like, cookie cutter, like, very simple, very basic deck to, like, just being very flexible in what its end boards are. And Fusion Destiny's crazy, man. The card got limited or semied for a reason. Now it's just the power one-ups basically. So Tanky, just more consistency with our deck. It gives us, you know, more fractals, which can get us to our birds, our entire tri line. Card is still insane. The one Call by the Grave. I just think this is a card that's, like, generically overall very powerful, like being able to hit Scythe or, you know, hit Golden Lord, hit DPE, Celestial, whatever it just hits everything. It just checks a lot of boxes for us, and we do have like some few flex spots. So this was one of those cards, and then we've got the Foolish. Foolish was like a second Revolt or like a monster born before, but again, this is just another consistency piece, because in a lot of ways, Foolish, Burial, and Tanky are the same card. Tanky gets the Fractal, which can dump us like a Sparrow or a Tri. This can just dump the Tri or dump the Sparrow, and then we can play with the Warbler anyway. So these guys and Bird Call essentially all help us start our, like, plays without using our normal summon, basically, just because, like, it can guarantee like a name engrave, and then we can use our Warbler. So again, it's just, these are starters that work with differently than these ones, or that work differently with, like, the monster based ones. There's just multiple different lines to attack your opponent, and I think a deck like this, like a mid-range deck like Tribrigade, having multiple lines like that are very, very powerful. We play the triple Forbidden Droplet. I think this is the best go second card in the game. So right now, if your deck can play Forbidden Droplet, it's probably a good deck. If your deck can't play Forbidden Droplet, it probably sucks. And if your deck loses Droplet, your deck probably sucks too. So right now, this deck doesn't necessarily lose a Droplet. One of the ways to deal with Droplet is you can do what Fanmite's doing, where they're popping 2 cards, or they're popping their Scythe twice, basically, on their turn. Or you can do what, like, decks like this would do, where we're trying to set up hand traps as well as some back row to kind of protect ourselves from Forbidden Droplet. If we get Dropleted, realistically, they'll drop it our Appaloosa or our DPE, and then later in the turn, like, the Revolt can come in, and, you know, the hand traps can come in, and that's when it's fine, because if players Droplet against us, it's kind of like a -1, because you're just trading, like, your Droplet with the Appaloosa plus the card that you discarded, and unless it's, like, a really powerful card, it doesn't matter. But yeah, anyways, this card is crazy. You can send Sparrow, send Kit, send Nerval, and get a search. And the final one, if we play, is the 1 Revolt. Again, after your turn 1, you're gonna resolve this, maybe, you know, banish a card, search a card, and then you kill your opponent, right? If you see the Fusion Destiny line, it's the exact same thing. So basically, this gives us, like, 3 options, or 3 cards that give us, like, an option for an equally disruptive end board. DPE and Revolt kind of give us like follow-up and a pop, or follow-up and removal. Obviously, Fusion Destiny is stronger in terms of like it consistently happens, but Revolt can be much more powerful under cards like Lancia and things like that as well. And so I just wanted to play 3. I didn't think you needed like to play the second Revolt or the third Revolt. This is like basically the worst Tribrigade card because it's not a monster. And I know that sounds crazy, but after the first Revolt, your opponent should be dead, especially the way the format kind of is right now, where it's like, if you can punish your opponent like just for misplaying or for, you know, playing a deck that really folds over to the amount of hand traps that we play and stuff, just the one Revolt is enough to just end the game. And so, also, I didn't want to go above 40. So that's 40 cards in the main. It was a very, very consistent deck. Like, I don't think the worst hand I opened was against my brother, which was actually my only game loss in the entire tournament. And I opened both of the DPE bricks, the Dasher Celestial, and then I opened like 3 Fractal. Like, there's nothing you can do about that. But it's one of those things where for the most part the deck didn't brick, and these kind of decks, like, you need to play them as consistent as you can make them, just because how you're going to beat your opponent is through consistency. Now, to go off to the extra deck, we got Yusei over there. The Almirage for Link 1s, 2 Kit, Bearbrum, Dragonlords, and the Preplan versus Anaconda. You need Almirage to start your lines, like basically always. Another interesting thing you can do with Almirage is like going second, or if you didn't make Almirage on your first turn of the game, normal summoning a Kit, using its effect and linking away into Almirage just to give you protection from like maybe your opponent's DPE, maybe one of their cards that you might be respecting, like a Chuchi, maybe a punishment. Like, the card has other value, but it's really just a consistency piece and a starter basically if we need to get our Nerval or our Kit into the graveyard. And then for links to obviously the 2 Fairjet. In this kind of deck where we are playing heavier on the Tribrigade line, like, you need 1 Fairjet for turn 1 and then 1 Fairjet to kill your opponent. So this is just perfect. Like, and honestly, like, after playing birds for so long, like, moving on to just like 2 Fairjet again, it just feels so good because like it feels like you always have a way to link ladder and be able to play, and it really helps you OTK. Plus, like, the draw can be super clutch sometimes, being able to put back like bricks that you drew, like the Dasher or the Celestial. The 1 Bearbrum, again, we only need to see this card once. If we've made Bearbrum, we've resolved it, we've got our 1 Revolt, it's done its job for us. Bearbrum's other effect, where you discard 2 cards to special summon, like, that's come up every now and then, but for the most part, it's just there to get to Revolt. Card's crazy, and it's kind of like a requirement, right, that we have to play the 1. And then the Dragonlords, again, this is one of the best forms of interruption in the game because it's removal that's non-destroying. And usually our end board is going to be ending with this guy, DPE, this guy, Appaloosa, Revolt, you know. And Verte, again, this card's insane. Like, it didn't get hit. Cool. Verte gives us so many more combo lines that other decks don't have, because what we can do is you can go like Fractal Pitch Nerval, add Kit, normal Kit, banish 2 for this. For Blossom link away into the Prototype versus Anaconda. We can draw a card, put a card back, and then we can end on DPE. And it's like, that doesn't seem like much, but Fractal got us to DPE basically. Plus, like, we got to like sculpt our hand a little bit, and it becomes very difficult to consistently beat this kind of strategy, like at with more rounds and stuff. So that's it for the Link 2s and Link 1s. Then for the 2 Link 3s, we play the 1 Rugal and the 1 Doomeagle. Rugal's great just because he is a Tribrigade name, and it lets us like kind of link away awkward board states. Also, because it's a Link 3 that we can summon on turn 1, basically lets us make Appaloosa very easily as well. Card's crazy, can give us follow-up, and then if we're forced to like summon an Omen earlier with Revolt, Rugal can trigger the effective Omen to banish on our opponent's turn, and also lets us chain block some of our effects, just because when we do link it away, it'll lower our opponent's attack. And we play Doomeagle. Card's crazy, deals with DPE, deals with all the graveyard decks. It's super free to summon, and you can like Revolt birds and summon this, which has never happened, but you can do it. It's mainly there for the access code play, just the OTK, but also you can just sit on this against some decks and like shuffle back their graveyard, and it's really hard for them to play, like decks like Drytron, for example. And then for the Link 4s, we play the 2 Omen. Yeah, Omen's crazy. Like, this card's non-targeting removal. It searches in our deck. We always have cards banished, and like you can summon back birds, so you're not forced to summon back like your tries, just to keep like extra monsters banished, just so Omen can come in and really clean up. The card's good. You resolve this and you kill them. This is 3,000. Access code goes to 53, and that's game 83. And just being able to remove like monsters for free essentially without targeting is really, really clutch with the card. Then we play the last Appaloosa. This is necessary for our end board, and honestly, like, this card just gets better and better in my mind. Like, a lot of the decks just really do struggle with dealing with Appaloosa, and sometimes this card is just free. I understand for the most part you're never going to get like 3 or 4 negates out of this. You're probably only getting 1 or 2, but that's fine, because on our way to building up to Appaloosa, we dug through our deck quite a bit. We sculpted our hand, set up like interruptions, and then Appaloosa is just like the cherry on top. And so card's nuts. That's it for the and access code is game. And so that's it for our Link monsters. Access code is also like super easy to summon because we play the Doomeagle. And so like just a normal summon Tribrigade turn 1, like you flip a Revolt on your opponent, DP comes back, you just normal Tribrigade, that's game on its own. Then we play the 1 Destroyer Phoenix Enforcer, which I don't know, like I think you might be able to get away with not playing DP in this kind of deck and just play more other like consistent cards, but this card's insane. I think you should play it as long as like you can. I do side out 1 Fusion Destiny going second, but like, it's fine. This card is just insane, and it opens up so many different play lines for our deck. And before, Tribrigade kind of struggled with like backrow decks just because you couldn't remove them too efficiently on your opponent's turn. You have to wait till your turn, go into access code, try to remove them, because sure, it's only one, and Dragon Lord is one. But DP just trades them for free. So this lets us play against those slower, grindier control decks, and like helps us deal with floodgates that maybe our tries wouldn't get to. And this is one of the ways that we can play under Lancia, for example, just being able to go into like the DP line and kind of riding it out with our hand traps, and or maybe we have a set revolt. And then the last two cards, these were like last minute additions that they never came up. Is the Assembled Nightingale and the Zeus. And I was only playing this just because I had the two birds and I had two free slots essentially in the deck. And so these are the ones that I chose to, just because you can, special your birds and go into like the Zeus line. But honestly, it wasn't that great, because even when you go into Zeus, you're only going to make it for like the two. So this is going to have two materials underneath it. Your opponent's going to activate an effect. You're going to, detach this, attach a material, protect this, then go into Zeus their board, and you have a Zeus sitting there with like no materials, not even interruption at that point. And it just didn't feel that good because I didn't want to play Downward. And so, like, I don't know, these cards could probably be something else. I just don't know what they would be. Like, I was initially, and even now, like, I'm continuing to test Recital Starling, even just the one. Just being able to, like, special the Warbler, go into with the Sparrow, search, like, Nerval, and then make Recital, search DD Crow, you can normal Nerval, and, like, it's just a lot of lines that card opens up as well. And I think just, like, having a searchable hand trap on demand is very powerful. But at the current moment, I don't know what I would replace this with. Same with Zeus. But you don't need to play those cards. You can definitely get away with playing them, or without playing them, sorry. For side again, 3 Lancia and 2 Droll. These are I think the only hand traps that we played inside. And this was mainly targeted for like Phantom Knight. We expect there to be a lot of Phantom Knight. I expect there to be Sword Soul. This card's very good against them, and Droll's not really that great. Like, against birds, I was very confident that if I won the die roll, I was going to win anyway. And going second, like, two of this is still fine, and this is still fine. Just because, like, if you Lancia the bird player, like, they can't play with Tribrigade, so you know that their end board is probably just going to be like maybe they make some Morg if they really want to neg, but their end board is going to be Utopic Feature and like Robin. And I was like, okay, I'm willing, like, Forbidden Droplet can deal with that, Imperm can deal with that, things like that, things of that nature. But moving forward, like, this is fantastic against Phantom Knight, this is good against Virtual World, this is good against any deck that wants to banish. It stops the 10Es from really blowing you out. So, like, when you go first, like, you can side in Lancia, it should be a hand trap that you're playing in against that deck anyway, and then it just gives you more options to play. And then post side especially, like, this card is coming into your deck game 2, potentially even game 3, and with the Droll, it was 5 cards to go second, 5 more hand traps to put in to go second, and I think that, again, it just helped with the siding pattern for the deck. These cards are crazy, and I don't think I would change the ratios. Droll actually did much better than I thought it would against the Brave Engine, so shout out to Thalha for that one. Then we go into the 1 Dinosaur Pank Top. This is kind of like just respecting Eldritch, right? You can special it and deal with stuff. Pank is just such a really good card, but I think, like, if you really wanted to maximize, like, you could just cut the Pank for a 3rd Droll. This could be Alpha. I just love Pank, and I don't think I'd ever play a side deck without him, just because, like, there's so many, like, junky nonsense games he's won me for actual back row removal. Spell base, we play the Harpies and 3 Cosmic Cyclone. Although Lancia does hit us, and I've always said that if you play Cosmic Cyclone in a deck that already loses to Lancia, it is kind of problematic. This card is just so good against Scythe. It's so good against the Eldritch cards, and just being able to trade, like, with a selective 1-for-1 whenever you want it is just so powerful that, like, I just couldn't bring myself to not play this. And you don't really want to discard too many cards, because if you have Twin and Droplet, for example, like, you're discarding too many cards, and you can get away with 1, but maybe not 2. Harpy's free, so we play this. And then we play the 5 going first cards, which would be 2 Anti-Spell Fragrance and 3 Solemn Judgment. I didn't know what to put in. Like, we lost Order, obviously, which is like the be-all end-all for this deck. But, like, these are still powerful. Like, Anti-Spell is still powerful. It still gets the work done. It still, shuts off the Brave Engine. Stopping spells for 1 turn is, like, massively important. And Judgment was just, like, it's a fantastic going first card. It kind of deals with everything. So these were kind of like I don't know what to put in this spot, so I'm just going to put in 5 cards that stop me from losing to, like, Dark Ruler, Mystic Mind, etc. These cards are all really good at dealing with that. And so that was it for the list. I think the deck is very good, and I think leaning into the next format, like, you're either going to be playing a deck that can Scythe block your opponent, or you're going to be playing a deck that can prevent the Scythe block pretty consistently. And this is definitely one of those decks that can do that, and you just have the consistency. And Tribrigade, you know what, a lot of the decks in the current format, like, they kind of got to jump through hoops to, like, OTK you. I just got a normal to try, banish 3. Anyways, guys, this is Blue from Ather Gaming, signing out. Peace.
Alright guys, so that was it for the video. If you guys liked the video, go ahead and leave a like down below, guys. Comment what you guys want to see next. Subscribe if you have not already. Stay tuned for some more awesome content, guys. And like I always say, keep on shining, never go on your dreams. Peace.